Hi everyone, I hope you all are doing great and welcome to the module 15 of our WSET Level 2 preparation journey. And in this module, we'll be learning about Cabernet Sauvignon. Everything that discussed in our official WSET Level 2 specification will be explaining in this module. So, Cabernet Sauvignon is one of the most important and famous grape varieties in the world, known to produce wines with pronounced aromas of black fruits and herbaceous notes, as well as more fuller bodied style tonic powerful wines. So it is one of the grape variety that heavily emphasized in our WSET official specification, especially level 2 as well as even in level 3. The Cabernet Sauvignon is one of the most important grape variety. So in this module, we'll be learning everything that we need to focus and need to study for our examination in terms of the characteristics, winemaking options, as well as the most important regions for this grape variety. So my name is Nilantha and I'm a WSET Level 3 certified sommelier, creating these videos to help you guys prepare for your examinations without feeling overwhelming. So if you find these videos are useful, please do subscribe so that someone else can discover this channel and get help for their journey as well. So without further ado, let's get started. So what are the typical characteristics of Cabernet Sauvignon grape variety? So Cabernet Sauvignon is one of the world's most important black grape varieties, as we discussed in previous slide. So it grows in best moderate to warm climate conditions. So Cabernet Sauvignon grape prefers moderate to warm climate conditions in order to ripen fully. Even though in moderate climate conditions, the grape variety still struggle to ripen, and it may have more of like herbaceous aromas and flavors in these climate conditions, but in warm climates it can reach full ripeness easily. Needs a long warm growing season to ripen fully, so it prefers and it requires a long growing season with more warmer temperatures in order to reach the full ripeness, of course. Thick skins contains high levels of color, flavor and tannin. So it is a small grape variety with thick skins containing high levels of acidity, high levels of tannin, as well as deep color in this grape variety. So it's deeply colored wines. When the Cabernet Sauvignon wines are made as single varietal wines, they tend to have more deeply colored wines. So oftentimes Cabernet Sauvignon is blended with other grape varieties like Merlot in Bordeaux. Then these wines tend to have much more medium intensity in terms of appearance, but the varietal wines tend to be more deeper, more darker color than the blended wines. Typically these wines are dry, high levels of acidity, high tannins, medium to full body. So this is the typical explanation of this grape variety. It's a dry wines, high acidity, high tannin, as well medium to fuller bodied in style. So pronounced black fruit flavors like black currant and black cherry. So these are the most associated aromas and flavors with this grape variety of black fruits like black currants and black cherries, and also herbal or herbaceous notes. Herbal means like minty aromas comes from this grape variety. It's a very signature aroma, actually mint aroma. And then we have herbaceous like green bell peppers. And then in warm climates, fruit can become cooked in character. So as the temperature gets warmer in the growing conditions, these fruits, the fresh black fruits, tend to be feel like more cooked fruit styles, meaning that the ripeness is more, so the grapes are ripe more, therefore the flavors tend to be more cooked, meaning that really juicy style of wines. So this is pretty much all that we need to know about the characteristics of this grape variety Cabernet Sauvignon. Wine making options, oak influence and aging of this grape variety Cabernet Sauvignon. What are the things that we need to know the most from our specification? So first, Cabernet Sauvignon can be made as a single varietal wines, but it is often blended with other varieties such as Merlot. Now we know there are single varietal Cabernet Sauvignon wines, but mostly the majority of the wines that we see are blends, often blended with Merlot and other grape varieties. Like Bordeaux blend is one of the very good example of these blended wines. So blending can help soften its high tannins and acidity, especially in cooler vintages. So the reason why these winemakers are blending these Cabernet Sauvignon wines with other grapes, because of these high levels of acidity as well as the tannin found in this grape variety, create unpleasantly a powerful sensation on the mouth. The wine is too tonic and it has high levels of acidity. So one, especially in the cooler climates, the grapes are struggling to ripen. Therefore, these flavors tend to be even much more higher than the average wines. Therefore, they choose to blend with other grape varieties like Merlot, which adds the fruitiness to the blend as well as softens the high levels of tannin in this grape variety. So this is one of the reasons why they choose to blend Cabernet Sauvignon. And then we have oak maturation, helps soften tannins through small amounts of oxygen. Now we know the oak maturation. When the wine goes through extended period of maturation inside these oak barrels, a small percentage of oxygen takes into the barrel, and that starts to interact with the wine and create oxidized flavor in the wines in a positive way. So new oak can add smoke, vanilla and clove flavors. So if you find aromas of vanilla, smoke or clove in a wine, it's indicating that the wine has matured in new oak, because new oak tend to impart more pronounced flavors of this vanilla and smoke as well as cloves. So Cabernet Sauvignon may be matured in oak for months or years. So this Cabernet Sauvignon wine can be aged for several months to several years in these barrels, depending on the style of the wine that the winemaker is trying to make, because as soon as the fermentation is completed, these Cabernet Sauvignon wines tend to have very high levels of tannins and acidity in these wines. So the majority of the wines, almost 99% of these Cabernet Sauvignon wines, goes through an extended period of maturation and aging in these barrels and bottles because of this reason. So as the time goes, the flavors become more softer, more approachable, much more developed, more pleasant characters. And aging, high tannin and acidity provide neutral preservations. So why Cabernet Sauvignon can be aged for several years or several decades in the bottle? It's because of these natural components of acidities, tannins and primary complex fruits found within the grape. It has this ability. So these tannins and acidity levels act like a preservative to the wines as the wine continues to age in the bottle as well. So very good and outstanding wines can mature for many years. Now we know there are vintage wines in our cellars that are older than 50 years, 60 years, 80 years, even sometimes closer to 100 years of these wines that are lying in our cellars. So this indicates that this grape variety has great potential to benefit from longer bottle aging. So tertiary flavors such as dried fruits and earthy characteristics are developed. So these are the tertiary characters like dried fruits and earthy aromas, flavors that develop in the bottle as the wine continue to age for many years. So this is pretty much all we need to know about winemaking options as well as oak influence and the aging requirements for this grape variety. So now we are moving into the complicated part of this module, which is the important regions for Cabernet Sauvignon grape variety. Starting from Bordeaux, France. Obviously, Bordeaux is the main hub of the production of high quality Cabernet Sauvignon based wines, known to produce some of the world's finest styles of wines made from this grape variety. So Bordeaux's moderate climate can make Cabernet Sauvignon difficult to ripen reliably. The gravelly soils of the left bank are particularly suitable because they. So basically, as we discussed in our previous module about Merlot, the Bordeaux region overall has moderate climate with very high levels of rainfall throughout the growing season. It is quite difficult for this grape variety to reach full ripeness because the grape variety has thick skins, require more warmer extended period of growing season. Therefore, it's quite a struggle because of this moderate climate conditions. Now we know it requires moderate to warmer. In warmer climate conditions, Cabernet Sauvignon ripens reliably more easily, right? So because of the benefits of this soils found in this left bank of Bordeaux, it helps this grape variety to reach the full ripeness. So one of the benefit is the draining rainwater away from the wine roots. As soon as it's rain, this soil helps to drain off all this rainwater quickly. And the other thing is avoid cold damp root conditions. So as soon as the water is drained, it creates a dry conditions surrounding of these root areas of these wines, and then absorb heat during the day and help warms the wine. So the most beneficial part is absorbing the heat of the sunlight during the daytime and release that at night, creating a warmer conditions throughout this night time. So these stones radiating the sunlight from the daytime to the night time. So these are the three beneficials that we need to know about left banks, the soil top, the gravel soils. And then important Cabernet Sauvignon regions include Medoc, Oak Medoc, Margaux, Pauillac, Browse, Pessac-Léognan. So these are the sub-regions that is mentioned in our level 2 official specification for this grape variety. Now we know on the left bank, starting from the Medoc, Oak Medoc, Margaux, Pauillac, Browse. These are all sub-regions that are producing Cabernet Sauvignon dominated blended wines. So Cabernet Sauvignon blended dominated blends are common. In cooler vintages, the proportion of Merlot may increase because Cabernet Sauvignon can struggle. So even though these sub-regions tend to produce wines with more Cabernet Sauvignon dominated, during the cool vintages, cool climate conditions in specific years, they may increase the proportion of this Merlot grape variety and lower the proportion of Cabernet Sauvignon, because this grape variety Cabernet Sauvignon may struggle because of this cool growing environment. So this is pretty much all we need to know about Bordeaux. We need to know about what are the benefits of the gravel soil found on the left bank of Bordeaux, as well as the sub-regions of this left bank, starting from Medoc, Oak Medoc, Margaux, Pauillac, Browse. We may come across a question asking about what are the sub-regions found on the left bank of Bordeaux, and you've been given 4 sub-regions, in one of them being one of these sub-regions. So you have to keep in mind. So we will be discussing about example questions that we can expect in our examination later stage once I complete all these modules. So for now, let's move on to the next region, south of France. So further south from Bordeaux region, we find this south of France. In south of France, the climate conditions tend to be much more warmer than the Bordeaux. Therefore, the Cabernet Sauvignon grape variety can be ripened quite easily, quite faster than in Bordeaux. Therefore, they produce single varietal wines from this grape variety, and it's quite common to find single varietal Cabernet Sauvignon wines coming from this south of France area. And also there are blends often made with unusual grape varieties. Sometimes you find not the typical grape varieties that are blended with this Cabernet Sauvignon. So they produce unique wines in the south of France area. And then we are moving into the labeling terms of Bordeaux. So there are diagrams mentioned in our official specification, which I didn't add in this presentation. I just wanted to give you kind of idea what are the labeling terms that discussed in level 2 quite briefly. So the first thing is the chateau. What does it mean by chateau on a label in Bordeaux? So in Bordeaux, chateau generally refers to an estate or producer, not necessarily a grown building. So chateau on the other parts of the world may refer to a structure or a building, but in Bordeaux, the chateau meaning the producer or the estate, meaning the wines made in chateaus, in certain chateau, the grapes are owned by the producer. They own all the vineyards and they manage all the grape growing, everything, and the 100% ownership is for the producer. So a chateau literally refers to the estate or the producer. And chateau wines are traditionally made from grapes grown on the estate rather than bought in grapes. Now we know in Bordeaux, in most of the France wine growing regions, there are producers as well as other people, also refers as negociants. So they buy grapes from small grape growers and then they produce wines. But these chateau wines, meaning they own the vineyards, they maintain, they manage this grape growing, and they do the entire circle of the winemaking. So Cru Classé, meaning certain Bordeaux classification rank states and their wines classified states are permitted to use Cru Classé on the label. These wines are widely regarded as important quality benchmarks and many have long aging potential. So some of the best wine coming from Bordeaux are labeled as Cru Classé. Actually, it's Grand Cru Classé, meaning the highest quality level of this the region, and they considered some of the best and most potential wines that can be benefit from age aging for many years in the bottle as well. So they quite command high prices. And there is another classification we discuss in level 2 is Cru Bourgeois, meaning those chateaus which are not classified to label as Grand Cru Classé, they can apply for Cru Bourgeois. So these wines are less expensive compared to these Cru Classé wines or the Grand Cru Classé wines, but can offer great value for money. So they are exceptional wines just because they are not able to apply for these Grand Cru Classé statements. They label under the Cru Bourgeois classification, because we know in Bordeaux it's been long time since the last official classification system was happened in 1855 and in 1972, etc. So these Grand Cru Classé wines are constantly delivered exceptional quality as well as great value for money. On the other hand, Cru Bourgeois offers quite similar level of quality in much more lower price range. So this is pretty much all we need to know about Bordeaux classifications for Cabernet Sauvignon grape variety. So let's move on to California and Chile. In California, USA, Napa Valley and Sonoma produces very good to outstanding Cabernet Sauvignon wine. So now we know when talk about Cabernet Sauvignon, Napa Valley is one of the foremost regions having a great reputation to produce very high quality and very popular styles of Cabernet Sauvignon wines, arguably. And there are historic collaborations between pioneers from both Bordeaux as well as in USA who came up together and created iconic wines such as the Opus One. This variety has a great potential in this Napa Valley. So Napa Valley is a warm climate, significantly warmer than Bordeaux, and it has very sunny, longer growing season. So Oakville and Rutherford are the most important sub-regions found in Napa Valley, known to produce wines with full-bodied, pronounced flavors of the black fruits like blackberries, black currants, black cherries with high levels of tannin, as well as these tannins are much more riper. So it gives kind of like balance, most fruitier character to these wines. So Calistoga is warmer conditions, produces some of Napa Valley's ripest and fuller bodied wines. So in Calistoga sub-region, they produces more fuller styles, more fruitier style of this Cabernet Sauvignon grape variety. So these are the regions in USA that we need to focus when preparing for our examination. We have California, we have Napa Valley, Sonoma County, as well as Oakville and Rutherford, followed by the Calistoga, known to produce more riper, more fuller bodied style of wines, because of this Calistoga region tend to have much more warmer growing conditions. And yeah, let's move on to the Chile. Cabernet Sauvignon is Chile's most widely planted grape variety. So Cabernet Sauvignon is the most widely planted grape variety of this Chile, and of course then we can expect to have much more range styles of wines made from this grape variety, of course. So important regions for level 2 we need to know about Maipo Valley, Colchagua Valley. So they produce very good to outstanding wines, include single varietal wines as well as blended with Merlot and local specialty varieties like Cabernet. So Cabernet is one of the local specialty grape variety for Chile, and they have Cabernet Sauvignon and Cabernet blended outstanding quality wines made in these regions, Maipo Valley and Colchagua Valley. So in foothills, vineyards can show distinctively mint, green bell pepper as well as black fruit characteristics. So foothills of this Andes mountain known to produce wines with these distinctive characteristics of mint leaves as well as green bell pepper, which is more herbaceous, and then black fruit characteristics like black cherry, blueberry, blackberry, all these black fruits families fruits. So this is pretty much all we need to know about California and Chile for this Cabernet Sauvignon grape variety for our level 2 examination. So South Africa, Australia and New Zealand. I hope this description is quite clear for you guys. I also wanted to bring this some sort of visual identification between these countries. So yeah, let's move on. I will explain it. Yeah, it's starting from the South Africa. In South Africa, Stellenbosch is the most important sub-regions that we need to know for Cabernet Sauvignon grape variety. So in Stellenbosch, these mountainous regions with moderate to warm conditions depending on the altitude. So of course, altitude plays a huge role in this Stellenbosch vineyards, because as the altitude increase, the temperature drops. Therefore, more high elevation vineyards tend to have more cooling growing conditions. Even though South Africa is one of the warmest country to produce wines, because of this high elevation, they are able to maintain this cooling growing conditions throughout the growing season. So styles range from fresh herbal Cabernet Sauvignon to full-bodied wines with high alcohol. So the styles are ranging from fresh and fruity towards more fuller-bodied, more structure, more powerful wines with high levels of alcohol. So Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot can be blended with other local grape varieties to create a blend called Cape blend. So Cape blend is one of South Africa's signature style of red wines that are made with Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, sometimes with Pinotage, etc. So it's a unique blend to this South Africa, like Bordeaux blend in France, they have Cape blend in South Africa. So that is pretty much all we need to know about South Africa, Stellenbosch for this grape variety. Let's move on to the Australia. So in Australia, Margaret River is warm but moderate by coastal breezes, ripe blackfruit aromas and subtle oak. In Margaret River, of course, it's a very warm wine region, but because of this coastal cooling influences, they're able to produce wines with more balanced identity, more balanced flavor profile of this grape variety. Coonawarra is very special for this grape variety Cabernet Sauvignon in Australia, especially as you can see in this picture on the vineyard. The surface of the vineyard is quite red in color, right? The soil type that found in this Coonawarra called Terra Rosa. We study about this soil for our level 3, but just to let you know, it's Terra Rosa and it's quite unique for this region Coonawarra. So because of the cloud covers and cooling sea breezes, this Coonawarra is able to produce Cabernet Sauvignon wines with a distinct identity of herbaceous flavors as well as ripe blackfruit characteristics, and these wines can age gracefully for many years in the bottle as well. So they are quite expensive, quite higher quality wines, and some of the most beautiful wines coming from this Australia. And let's move on to the New Zealand. So in New Zealand, we need to know about Hawke's Bay. Cabernet Sauvignon needs the warmest sites to ripen fully. So Hawke's Bay in New Zealand is one of the warmest regions to produce wines, and Cabernet Sauvignon prefers, of course, the warmest climate conditions. So it is often blended with Merlot, producing fresh and blackfruit characteristics wines and herbaceous notes as well. Sometimes like green bell peppers, minty flavors can be expected from the Cabernet Sauvignon made in the region of this Hawke's Bay in New Zealand. So this is pretty much all we need to know about South Africa, Stellenbosch, Australia, of course Margaret River and Coonawarra, and then Hawke's Bay in New Zealand. Cabernet Sauvignon today. So Cabernet Sauvignon remains one of the world's most popular black grape varieties. Arguably, Cabernet Sauvignon is one of the most popular grape variety among the guests, among the people who loves wine. As they walk into the restaurant, they simply ask, glass of red wine? Yeah, glass of Cabernet Sauvignon. They always prefer Cabernet Sauvignon. I think it's due to the popularity of this grape variety as well as the availability of whole range of styles from this grape variety. It is produced by both high volume brands and premium producers. So high volume inexpensive wines can be found in our cellars, even in wine shops, as well as really expensive high quality age worthy wines are produced from this grape variety. It's high tannin and make it particularly suitable for food, which can help soften in its structure. Because of these high levels of tannins and acidity, it's particularly suitable to pair with heartier dishes, meatier dishes. As you can see in the picture, steaks, often when served steaks, everyone think of serving a glass of Cabernet Sauvignon along with these steaks and other red meat dishes, because of this the perfect matching harmonious experience. So modern producers are also using gentler winemaking techniques to extract. If you remember that we talked about these winemaking techniques during our earlier modules, so they can use these techniques much more gently in terms of extracting the color without overstressing this grape variety and extract more unfavorable flavors from these skins. This allows wines to be enjoyed younger while retaining fresh, fruity characteristics. Chile is currently experiencing success with this fresher style. So, Chile is one of the countries to prove they can achieve success of this fresh, fruity, more approachable style of wines made from this grape variety. So, key takeaway about Cabernet Sauvignon is Cabernet Sauvignon can produce everything from fresh, approachable wines to powerful, age-worthy wine that can be aged in the bottle for many years. So, this is pretty much all about Cabernet Sauvignon grape variety that we need to know to prepare for our examination. The typical characteristics, winemaking options, as well as the most important wine regions for this grape variety. I hope the video was useful. You found it more informative as well as helpful for your journey. If so, please leave a comment in the comment section as well as subscribe to the channel so that I can continue to prepare more videos for you to prepare for your examinations without feeling overwhelming. Especially, I'm working on the upcoming series of WSET Level 3 preparation series, so that I also invite you to stay in touch with my channel and let's explore the world of wine together. I'll see you in the next module. Until then, take care.